This guy here from Y.C.G, your casual gamer. So in this first part, we're going to be setting up the visual behind making our puzzle. It's important because you have to know how your scene is going to set up for your puzzle first. So we're going to get this ready. Once we're done this, the second part of this episode is going to be cleaning up our stage. So some parts I didn't show you guys how I did it, like setting up the transition between the second and the third part smoothly with the loading and unloading of the streaming volume, and also how did I ended up putting the checkpoint system inside the scene. So stay tuned. Okay, so first thing first, we're going to set up our things for the puzzle. So first thing you're going to notice over here is that there's a trigger area that I did. This is my example map that I did before this making the season. Is when you get inside this trigger, you would trigger this platform over here to go up. And the reason I did this is so I could, you guessed it, I could unload this scene. Because I don't need this one to be loaded, which is the bridge scene in our case over here. So I didn't need the bridge area to be open, to be there, to be loaded. That way it saves memory, it saves CPU for your user, and then you can focus on your puzzle. So the first thing we're going to do is this. Also, we can add all the little sprites over here to identify which area of our blueprint we're going to be working on for later on inside our puzzle blueprint. Because you can see over here is a puzzle, over here is a blueprint, over here is a blueprint, so that's going to be a separate episode. Also, we can even set the holes over here. And you're going to see it's very clever because you're not going to be going inside there. So let's see how I did it. So, all right. So we're going to need a few things. We're going to get started like, let's do the trap over here. So what I did is I made a texture. It's going to be in the, all the textures used over here are going to be in the link below. So it's a texture of a hole, literally that. And right now you can't see anything because the default value is going to be black behind. So to see anything, it's I'm going to do apply to the texture. And you see over here, it's just a black hole. Now, I cannot drag this inside the scene and use it yet. But when it's a sprite, then there's no problem. I can bring it. It's a flat surface. So to make the sprite, very simple, we're going to create sprite, and you're going to have your hole right here. Just to keep it clean, I'm going to move the texture inside the texture, so move it there, and save all. Then it's as easy as you can see over here. I'm going to bring it on the screen. So I'm going to place the first one, and then I'm going to speed up the video and place the rest. So we're going to make this to 0.2, I guess. Okay, 0.1, 0.1, yeah, 0.15. There you go. That's about right. And then we're going to move it here, level it with the floor. You can see there's already a collision also on it. There's a base collision that comes when you make a sprite. So I'm going to have, so now I have one. Now it's simple as copy paste for the rest. So I'm going to put it to 135. All right, so there you go. This is placed. So now the spike trap is ready to functionate. Second is we're going to need to bring in the numbers. So I have 4 textures over here. Again, these are all going to be in the description below. I can bring them in right over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I made these textures using the using a paint program, and I just painted on top of one of this over here, the middle part. Just painted on this, and it made that little texture. Very simple. You gotta stay creative, huh? And then bring this, create sprite. You got your sprite. You can move these inside the textures and save all. Now it's the same thing. We're just going to bring them inside the scene, just making sure that what I'm doing. Yeah, okay, I'm going to bring this. So now all this might change after, but I'm pretty sure that's how I did it. It was 0.2, I think, even less. 0.1. Okay, this one is 0.15. Yeah, that's about right. And I don't know if you noticed, but I moved the things over here ahead is the reason I moved this up. And this is why I'm like, I regret putting the fire there. You know what? Let's move it now. It's the third time I move it around, so we're just going to put it somewhere else. Let's put it, I don't know, after this. Can it work? Put it inside. Put it to the side like this. and like that. And if I want to be very cool, I can bring one on the other side, and then there's going to be 2 fires. There we go. Most likely I'm gonna play with it after, but just for now, so I can take this and that and move it up, because I need this space. Now we're gonna put it one over here. Then I'm gonna alt drag. I already have my measure, so I'm just gonna alt drag it 2 times, 3 times, and one last time. And then I'm gonna set up the number 2. Whoops, number 4 over here. Number 4 there, number 3 there, and number 2 right here. And we're done for this part. Now we have to set up the rest, because I think there was some over here too. So as you can see, I made these walls slanted because I wanted to, but to make it look like uneven. But that was a bad move on my part. I gotta get them higher and all to the same level so I can make the puzzle happen. So I'm just gonna fix that. So that's when you're creating. Doesn't mean you're always doing everything right. Nothing is ever really set in stone. You have to have the discipline to say, okay, that's enough. I've played with this level enough. And now for these numbers, I believe I made them bigger, which I did. So I can just, again, go grab the number 1. Alt, drag it, drag a copy. And my number 1 is going to be right over here. Another thing that's nice with the sprites is that it's see-through. So like you can see that it's working even though I put it somewhere else. And what's nice too is you can even add a you could even add, like, I don't know if I did that over here. You could add a mesh just to make it more like, I didn't even bother. People won't even really notice as long as you put it well flush with the wall. And you can even drag the wall closer if you want to. Leave it like this. So we have number 1 over here, number 2 right over here. It's alright. Again, I'm going to speed up the video and place them. Okay, so now we're almost done our scene. Now we're going to set up the part over here. So we're going to make a copy of this right over here. Make sure that you're in the 2-3 and the little tabs. And from here, we're going to make a trigger volume. Trigger volume, bring it in. I don't know why everything is slanted for me, but I'm pretty sure I did this. Because I wanted to, my level creation went in that direction. Sometimes it's not for the best. So make sure it's pretty big, because you want to make sure that nobody can not trigger it. Say you have an important scene that's happening over here, you want to make sure that the player eventually triggers it, that he can't jump over it or go under it or anything like this. So now that it's there, we're going to add it there. We're going to right click on the borders of the trigger volume. Add event on begin overlap. Now we're ready to make our code. So what we're going to do a sequencer. So right here I already have my sequence. We're going to do, wait, I don't have my sequence. We're going to build our sequence over here. We're going to do add level sequence. Go inside the folder you want to save it. And level 2. Like this. And we're going to make the, select the platform you want to use. Add a track, and from here add 0. We're going to make a transform right here, and I think 60 frame, or let's go up to maybe 60. This is where we're going to make it stop. We're going to go over here, bring it up. I think like this is pretty fine, and the key's already made. Just make sure to put everything just to be sure, and bring the end part over here. Last thing you have to do is make sure that selected on the track, you have to go in properties and make sure that the restore state is not active. You want to bring it to keep state. So that way when it gets to the end, it stays there. Press play, it's going to go up and it's going to stay there. and you're done in the sequence. Also, well, since we're here, we're gonna add a nice sound. So I have this nice sound over here of not open floor, wall trap. It makes this little grinding sound. It's gonna be in the description below. Don't worry. We're gonna bring it in, and of course, I didn't bring it at the right place. We're gonna bring it like this, and we're gonna make a nice fade at the end. So we're gonna add a node over here for the volume, and another node over here for a 0, like this. That way it's gonna, there you go. Save it, and you can close the sequencer. Now, the sequence is going to be right here, or it's going to be spawning somewhere in your level. So we can use this over here, and having it selected, of course, you got to go inside the level again. Since we have our trigger, we're going to get the sequencer, and from here, we're going to drag a play sequencer. And play sequencer. There you go. Have it like this. And if you want to make sure that it's the player that triggers it, let's say you have moving objects inside your scene and you don't want them to trigger your trigger volume, you can always make the check over here to the cast to first person character. In our case, that's my character. And that way it's only going to trigger if the player is inside the trigger, not anything else. So if it's a ball or a trap or someone running through it, but it's not you, it's not going to trigger the event. So have it like this. Last thing is we're gonna change the music. So we're gonna have, I have this nice little music over here for the temple scene, and I'm gonna bring this inside like this. Add as your component, have it like this, and return this. Now for now it's auto activate, which I never like to do. We're gonna do a fade in instead. So instead of having it just starts right away, we're going to make a fade in so that it smoothly arrives inside the scene. The fade in duration, we're going to put it to, I don't know, 3 seconds. And volume, just for the example right here, we're going to put it to 0.5, just so it doesn't overwhelm us in our scene right now. And save. So now if everything works well, when I jump inside my scene, we have everything ready to do the last part. So now we're inside our scene. We get over here, I jump down, the door opens behind me, and there you go. You're inside your puzzle area. Since the walls are pretty high, it's fair to say that we could unload the second part of our level. So everything is very big. I'm probably gonna have to resize everything. I did not expect everything to be really that big. So escape this. First off, let's finish up what we have over here. Rescaling everything is going to be on my time. It's not something that you guys, I don't want to bore you guys with that, but you saw, I felt like a little mouse beside the door. So right here, we're going to unload our scene. So to do that, we're going to need to do a unload stream level. And we're going to go get the information, which is right over here. So if I go to my maps, F2 to get the name, Control C, and Control V here. So now as soon as this happens, so you know it takes about 2 seconds, so you're going to have to give yourself a little delay over here. Delay of 2 seconds. So it has a time to play. So you go again, you get inside my big area. This goes up, and you're gonna see on top right, if I eject, you're gonna see that this is just over here is not loaded anymore. You can see that this one is loaded, this one is still loaded. Interesting. I did not take the right level. Dumb me. Season 3, stage 2-2. See how everything is name sensitive? And you gotta make sure you name your stuff right. And I'm gonna keep this just so you guys understand. It's so easy to just make the mistake. So now you can see it's loaded. because on the top right corner it's white, and if I get inside, then this is going to go up and then it's unloaded. You can see that because you don't see the level anymore. So perfect. So for the second part, I'm going to show you guys. So we're done now setting up our scene to be able to recreate our level, recreate our puzzle. And now I'm going to resize everything so that it fits better with the character. But I'm going to do this off screen. I don't want to bore you guys with this again. But now we're going to do the other part. So if you were just there to see the puzzle part, you're done this tutorial, you can move on to the next. Or if it's not there yet, it's going to come out soon. And from here, I'm going to show you guys what we're missing to finish up our level for the cleaning part. So if I go inside the persistent level, there was a few things that it was not shown content yet. I enlightened them because I wanted to make sure I go over them with you guys, because I don't want to be like those YouTubers that makes all kinds of stuff off screen, and that really pisses me off personally when I make a tutorial from another a tutorial series and they're telling me they're going to show me all kinds of stuff and they don't show you. They say, oh, now you know how to make it, so just do it. But it doesn't really apply the same way in every level. Like in this level per se, so here I did a cast to the game instance. So this, I can remove it. Very simple. You guys know about the game instance, right? We did the game instance together. We already made it. There's a tutorial in the link below where you can go see what the game instance is, how does it work. Now, I had the game instance, but now I did the checkpoint system with you guys. But it acts a little bit different in this scene. And the reason it acts differently is that you have over here one checkpoint over here, and you have another checkpoint down there. Now, when this one is triggered, you have an elevator that's supposed to be already down, right? Which is, if I go inside my blueprints right now and go inside my game instance and I set up the checkpoints, right now I set it up at 2 just to be starting where I was showing you guys how to make the puzzle. But if I set it to 0, my level is built to understand that now you are restarting the level at the elevator scene. So if I activate this over here, if I activate this checkpoint, it's not just going to be spawn my player there. This sequence over here has to be played. So how do I do that? Simple enough. Since I had already the sequence, there's a node called jump to. So right over here, this is the first one that triggers the scene that we created together. So we did all this together. So if I look at this over here for the non-showed part, I showed you this part. So I just load the first string volume and then I make the elevator scene happen. But now over here, what happens if I trigger the first checkpoint? If I did trigger the first checkpoint, not only do I have to load at the right place for the player and also load the right streaming volume, but I also have to have the sequence played. And if you don't know how to make this, then it can be frustrating to try to do it yourself. But now you see there's a node for it. So I could go, I just went to grab my sequence I was playing earlier with the elevator coming down, and I just jumped right away to the frame I wanted it to be. And if I do that, then I go inside my game instance and I put my checkpoint to 1, and I compile and save. You're going to see that when I start now, I'm going to start right away over here, and if I look on the left, the elevator is down. And that's how you would have to recreate it if your game has objects or storylines that are supposed to have happened before or after your checkpoint. And you got to keep in mind this is important inside your scene. So for our tutorials right now, we are going to be loading at the second checkpoint. So if you guys saw the episodes on how to make the, this part is very followers only. If you did my other episode or you saw them, then you know what I'm speaking about. So now we're going to jump over here. So the second thing I wanted to do with you guys is over here at the bridge scene, the trigger over here. If you want to jump right away to this event, you can jump to event. That's a very nice feature inside the Unreal Engine. You jump here and it's going to jump because eventually your scene gets pretty crowded. Trust me, this is just a small level that we're creating together. But when you have your game going around, you're going to have events every single where, and it's going to drive you nuts to try to find where did you store your trigger volumes. And this is a good way to do it. Just go in the scene, grab it, jump to the event straight up. So I know over here it unloads the 2-1, but at the same time as it's doing so, it needs to load another streaming volume, and that's the one we did, the third part of the level, which is not being loaded anywhere. So I have the 2-2, 2-1, but I don't have the 2-3. So I gotta go get it. So I'm gonna go back in my maps, make sure to grab the right one, 2-3, copy it inside our, I want to say this one over here, yeah, right over here, and make it visible. And now that this is done, now I'm good. That's all I added to add over here, and this too has been shown. Now for the blueprint part, that's all I wanted to show you guys, extra that I didn't show you guys. Now what's going to be left is to do a little bit of cleanup, because if it's going to be the place over here that triggers the last part, you're going to see right away that the player is going to notice that, well, there's a big castle that's just appearing out of nowhere in front of me, and that's no bueno in my book. So you gotta have to do that little trick over here where we check what needs to be loaded and what is should be loaded. So in the 2-2, we're gonna go back in the 2-2, and we're gonna need to have stuff that hides the castle. So we're gonna go back into world position and copy that rock on top over here. I'm gonna make it here just to make sure that it covers a big chunk of the area and that it doesn't go past the walls also, like so. It's gonna need fine tweaking after, but it's just so that you guys get the idea. Let me have it here. And now you guessed it, if I did have it here, I'm gonna have to have a copy in my 2-3. So I'm gonna have to have this selected, and in the 2-3 make a copy, and then just try to bring it back on top. And if you're not sure the position, you can always select it, right click next to the X over here, and copy the position. That way you go into 2-2 and you can right click on the location and paste it. So if it had to move, it would move right now. Now just by having that rock there, I think it already fixes most of the problem. So I get over here and I load this part. So you can see that there's a little rock right over here appearing, but beside that, nothing else to the horizon. So that would work for us. So I'm just gonna take, was it that rock? I'm just gonna move it down. I could literally delete it. I don't even think I need that rock. Could have it like this, and then I have this. There you go. So that's it. That's all I wanted to take time to show you guys, to make sure that it's there in your knowledge. So that way, if you're trying to recreate the exact same level as I did, well, you have all the information to do so. And I really value the work I do to make sure that you guys have all the information when you're done one of my season. And I'll catch you in the next episode. So have a good day.